Reading is fun and math is great, but now it's time for art with Miss Kate.
Buenos dias, artistas. Hello, artists. Thank you for the banjo rendition of our theme song. Today we're going to learn some more about fiber, okay? Think back to last week. We did some projects with fiber, and I used yarn, and I wrapped it around cardboard in a variety of different ways. When I teach this at school, I use tagboard and string, but I didn't have tagboard and string at home, so I modified, which is what we're all doing right now, right? Going with the flow, figuring out how to do this. So, this is my spinning wheel, and this is called a Danish Upright Modern, and it doesn't look like most people's notion of a spinning wheel. Right over there I have an old wheel that my great-grandfather made, and I don't even know how long ago he made it. I'm sure it's over 100 years old, possibly more than that. And that looks like a Rapunzel spinning wheel or a Sleeping Beauty spinning wheel. But I like to use this guy because it's faster, and it's lighter, and it's portable. Some of you have seen me spin before at school, and this one is very easy to bring places. We're going to do today's lesson in two parts. I'm going to show you how to make single ply yarn today. Tomorrow I'll show you how to make double ply yarn. Today I'm going to show you how to finger knit with one finger. Tomorrow I'll show you how to finger knit with 2, 3, or 4. Just so you know what I'm talking about, this is 2-ply yarn. It's made from a off-white yarn and a soft brown yarn, and they are twisted together, and that makes a 2-ply yarn, which is stronger than a single ply. But the way my spinning wheel works is that you spin one spindle full of yarn, then another spindle full of yarn, and then you ply them together. Okay? I'm going to take this towel and cover myself because fiber, if it falls, which it does when you spin, is a little tricky to clean up, and it gets stuck to a lot of things. So that's why I'm putting this towel over myself, to catch that fiber, and then I can spin it again. It doesn't go to waste or get vacuumed up. And some of you always notice that I spin barefoot. Those of you who have seen me spin before. I'm not really sure why. You do not have to be barefoot. It's not some law of spinning. It's just that when I spin barefoot, I feel like I do a better job spinning, and I can't explain it, but I just spin barefoot. This is my fleece. This is from an alpaca. And what I'm doing right now, believe it or not, is called teasing my fiber. It makes it easier to spin. It's separating out your fiber so there's no clumps. Getting rid of anything that might be in there, like a small stick or a piece of grass or a plant. And there are 3 categories of fiber. And then there are subcategories. The 3 categories are animal, plant, and insect. Insect, silkworms make a fiber that we use to create the fabric called silk. Researchers are trying to figure out how to harvest spider or arachnid fiber because it's very thin and very strong. The most common plant fiber is cotton. You're probably all wearing some cotton. People also spin flax, they spin palm fronds, they spin ramie. And then animal fiber. The most common one that people spin is sheep. It's easier to spin than alpaca. I'm spinning alpaca because I have friends who raise alpacas, and I like alpaca fiber. It's very, 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 very soft. But people spin the fiber that is near them. So like in the Himalayas, people spin civet or muskox fiber because that's what lives there. In the Kashmir region of the world, people spin goat fiber because that's what lives there. So in Australia and New Zealand, people spin sheep fiber. I'm going to be spinning alpaca because that's what I have access to. But it's tricky, and you might see my fiber break. And if it does, I'll just keep going. I didn't learn to spin with alpaca. I learned to spin with sheep because it's way, way easier. Alpaca is very fine and silky and soft and narrow, and therefore it's hard to spin. So my foot is pushing the pedal at the bottom of the wheel. That is called a treadle. The treadle is attached to the large wheel by a piece of wood. Then up above, there's a smaller wheel, and my yarn, my fiber, is wrapping around that spindle. And between those two circles is a black, basically it's like a rubber band. And that's what attaches this big wheel to the small wheel. I'm not twisting the fiber, the spinning wheel is. It might look like I'm doing it when you watch my hands, but it's really the wheel, it's not me. And yarn is just a twisted form of fiber. If you don't organize fiber, it doesn't have a lot of uses. Like that fleece there in the bag, you could use to maybe stuff a pillow, right? But you couldn't really turn that into a sweater or a blanket. It's not organized. Once fiber becomes disorganized, it's almost impossible to use unless you're able to reorganize it. The reason I stopped is I had to move this piece of yarn to here because I want my yarn to fill this spindle evenly instead of in a big bump right there, okay? This is the part when it might break. It often breaks when I start up again. That's kind of a normal part of spinning. And you just keep going, you just reattach it and keep going. It's not the end of the world. Now when you get a fleece from an animal, you don't hurt the animal. It's like giving the animal a haircut. In fact, this alpaca lives in Wisconsin. And in Wisconsin, our summers are so hot that if you did not give the alpaca a haircut in the spring, they could even die of heat stroke in the summer or get very sick. So you have to cut their hair if they live in a part of the world where the summers are hot. Alpacas are related to camels, and they're from the Andes Mountains originally, where it doesn't get very hot in the summer. So they've been exported to other parts of the world. And they have some family that are called vicuña. There's another one called the guanaco. And there's another one that you've probably heard of called the llama. Those are all related to the camels from the Arabic world. So that's how you spin. You can see how my wheel works. Most of the yarn you're going to get or see or buy or have around is not made this way. It is made on a large computerized spinning machine that's way faster than I am, and that can produce yarn that looks super, super, super even. I like hand spun yarn a lot because I like how it has different widths and different textures, but a lot of people don't care for that. So here's a 2-ply yarn that I showed you, a brown and a white twisted together. Here is a pink yarn, and you're probably thinking, I've never seen a pink alpaca. You're right. This is dyed, and it's spelled D-Y-E. It's a different word than when something no longer is alive. And dye makes yarn have different colors, okay? This is a purple yarn that's plied with a greenish and an orangish yarn. Tomorrow I'll show you the plying process. Here's a gray. This is a natural gray. That's what color the animal really is. And I'm going to show you how to finger knit on with this very colorful yarn on my white towel, because I think it'll be easy for you to see. Okay? So you start with a loop. You can make your loop any way you want. I know how to do a slip knot. That's kind of hard to teach, especially with a camera. But if you don't want to do it that way, you can make a loop like this, just by tying. So now I have a loop. I am right-handed, so I'm going to put the loop on my first finger of my left hand. Okay? Now I'm going to take this yarn that's attached to here, wrap it in front of my loop, take the back loop over and off my finger. Wrap, over, off, wrap, over, off. wrap, over, off. That's all you do. Tomorrow we'll learn how to do it with more than one finger, and we'll see how I ply the yarn to make it stronger. I can't show you everything in one lesson, or my lesson will be too long and you'll get bored. What do you do when you want to end? You might want your finger knitting way longer than this. That's perfectly fine. But when it's time to end, there's a secret that's really important, or it'll come unraveled. When you cut your yarn, and you don't cut it so you're ready to end, take this end and put it through this loop, and then gently pull, and now it won't come unraveled. If I hadn't done that, I could have pulled the whole thing back into a yarn that looks like this. Okay? So I hope you enjoy finger knitting. I hope you enjoy learning a little bit about fiber. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll learn some more. Miss you. Bye-bye.